Once in a generation, a love story emerges from the pages of history that captures the hearts of millions, not because it was born of grand palaces or dynastic ambition, but because it was so deeply, undeniably human. This is the true love story of Denmark's King Frederik and his Australian-born Queen, Mary, a modern-day fairy tale that began not in a grand ballroom or under the scrutiny of royal advisors, but in the unlikeliest of places, a dimly lit bar in Sydney, Australia. This story has everything: chance encounters, undeniable chemistry, long-distance devotion, cultural barriers, and the transformation of an ordinary woman into a beloved queen. And from the very first moment Frederik laid eyes on Mary Donaldson, the woman who would one day be his queen, his life would never be the same. The night was like any other in the bustling heart of Sydney. It was the year 2000, and the city was electrified with Olympic fever. Celebrities, athletes, dignitaries, and royalty had descended upon Australia to celebrate the Games, and the energy was magnetic. In the midst of this whirlwind, Crown Prince Frederik of Denmark was enjoying a rare moment of anonymity. Unassuming, disguised under the freedom of a country far from the pressures of the Danish monarchy, he was simply a young man enjoying a night out with friends. Meanwhile, Mary Donaldson, a 28-year-old advertising executive with a sharp intellect and a strong independent spirit, was also out for a drink with friends at the Slip Inn, a cozy pub nestled in the heart of Sydney. She had no idea that her world was about to change forever. When Frederik walked into that bar with his entourage, among them his brother Prince Joachim, he was just another face in the crowd. But when his eyes locked with Mary's across the room, there was something different. Something magnetic, something real. Frederik didn't introduce himself as a royal. He simply told her his name was Fred. And Mary, being gracious, confident, and refreshingly grounded, treated him like any other man. No titles, no pomp, no pretense. That night, the two struck up a conversation that lasted for hours. They talked about life, dreams, travel, and everything in between. For Frederik, Mary was unlike anyone he had ever met. She was intelligent, articulate, witty, and unafraid to speak her mind. She challenged him, intrigued him, and made him laugh. For Mary, Frederik was warm, humble, and attentive. There was a spark, a connection, and neither of them could ignore it. But this was not a story of instant fairy tale endings. After that fateful night, reality came crashing in. Frederik had to return to Denmark, and Mary had to resume her regular life in Australia. But the memory of that evening stayed with them both. And soon, what began as a casual meeting blossomed into a transcontinental romance. They began writing to each other, speaking regularly on the phone, and making quiet plans to see one another. Over the next few months, Frederik made several secret visits to Australia, and Mary visited Denmark discreetly. They were determined to make it work, despite the vast distance and the enormous weight of royal expectations. Mary, however, was not naive. She knew that falling in love with a prince meant her life would never be the same. If she wanted to be with Frederik, she would have to leave her job, her home, and her country. She would have to learn Danish, convert to the Lutheran faith, and immerse herself in royal protocol. The scrutiny would be intense, the pressure unimaginable. But love, as they say, conquers all. In 2001, the Danish media caught wind of the relationship. Photos surfaced, rumors swirled, the public was curious. Who was this Australian woman who had captured the heart of the heir to the Danish throne? As speculation grew, so did the attention. Mary was thrust into the spotlight, but she handled it with grace, humility, and quiet strength. Slowly but surely, she began to win over the Danish people, not through grand gestures or flashy headlines, but through sincerity and effort. She enrolled in Danish language classes, studied the country's history and culture, and demonstrated a deep respect for the traditions she was about to enter. In 2003, the Danish royal court officially confirmed the couple's engagement. The announcement was met with overwhelming joy from the Danish people, who had grown to admire Mary's warmth and dedication. That same year, on October 8, in a grand yet heartfelt ceremony at Amalienborg Palace, Crown Prince Frederik and Mary Donaldson officially became engaged. The moment Frederik proposed, he said, was one of the most emotional of his life. From the first moment I met her, he would later say, I knew this was the one. The royal wedding took place on May 14, 2004, in Copenhagen Cathedral, watched by millions around the world. It was a spectacle of elegance and tradition, but more than that, it was a celebration of true love. As Mary walked down the aisle in her custom-made gown by Danish designer Uffe Frank, the entire nation held its breath. But it was Frederik's teary-eyed expression as he whispered, "You look beautiful," that brought the world to tears. That single moment of raw emotion, a prince overcome with love for the woman beside him, cemented their place in the hearts of the people. From that day forward, Mary became Her Royal Highness Crown Princess Mary of Denmark. But titles meant little to her. What mattered was her commitment to service, her husband, and the people of Denmark. Over the years, Mary has grown into her role with unparalleled elegance and substance. She became fluent in Danish, gave birth to 4 beautiful children, Prince Christian, Princess Isabella, and twins Prince Vincent and Princess Josephine, and devoted herself to charitable causes that resonate deeply with her. Mary's work with the Mary Foundation, focused on bullying, domestic violence, and social isolation, has made her one of the most respected royal women in Europe. She brings empathy, intelligence, and fierce dedication to every project she undertakes. And Frederik, now King Frederik X following the abdication of Queen Margrethe II in 2024, has stood proudly by her side every step of the way. Their bond remains as strong as ever, rooted not in duty, but in a love that was forged far away from the palace walls. Their story continues to inspire people around the globe. It's a reminder that love knows no borders, no status, and no rules. That a chance meeting in a Sydney bar could blossom into one of the most enduring royal romances of our time. That a young woman from Tasmania could, through strength, humility, and love, become a cherished queen. The love between Frederik and Mary is not a scripted tale out of a fairy book, it's a real, evolving relationship that has stood the test of time, distance, duty, and public scrutiny. They are modern monarchs, yes, but at their core, they are simply 2 people who found each other in a world where such things are exceedingly rare. Their eyes still light up when they look at each other. Their laughter still echoes in quiet moments, behind palace walls. And their devotion, to each other and to their nation, remains unshaken. As Queen Mary stands beside her husband, now the sovereign of Denmark, she carries not only a crown but the weight of history, duty, and love. And as King Frederik leads his nation into a new era, it is clear that he does so with the same heart that beat faster all those years ago in a little bar in Sydney. In a world filled with headlines about scandal and division, their love story reminds us of what matters most: connection, courage, kindness, and the power of love to change the course of history. And so, from an Olympic night in Sydney to the grand halls of Amalienborg, the journey of Frederik and Mary is one of the most unforgettable stories of our time, a fairy tale grounded in reality, lit by the fire of love, and crowned with destiny. But what do you think? Is this modern royal love story the greatest of our time?